Hello and welcome to the show. I'm here on iRacing with a challenge. Now these are the street stock cars. They're basically your beginner oval vehicle. When you first start playing this game, you want to get into oval racing. This is what you're going to have to spend a lot of time driving. Certainly up until you get your first license, you can't even access anything else. So yeah, you're going to get used to driving these on ovals, and they do that job perfectly well. They're okay to drive around an oval. You get plenty of exciting racing from them, and I've spent quite a lot of time with these cars. They're pretty good at what they do. There are a couple of scary things with them, even on an oval, this circuit in particular, where you will have to be braking into the corners. The brakes are somewhat scary with them. You jump on the brakes, and if you are a tiny bit too vicious with the brakes, the car will lock and spin. It's not the easiest of vehicles to drive, even when you're just going round in circles, which means in typical FailRace fashion, we thought it would be fun to take these racing on a proper circuit. And this is probably the most technical, twistiest of circuits that there is to offer on the basic game. Off the start line, unfortunately, there was a moron that caused a big accident at the start. I don't know what on earth went on there. I guess he wasn't quite expecting the amount of wheel spin. I mean, these things don't set off particularly nicely. It's also really weird doing a standing start with these cars. I've done so many oval races with these. Really odd doing a standing start with them. Never done it before. I suspect most people probably won't have done a standing start with these cars before. Yeah, so getting off the line, a little bit fiddly. The cars that we're following at the moment, this is one of your best overtaking spots into this very long corner. The number 47 is out a little bit wide, as was I. I lost a place in this turn as well. It's a pain in the arse turn to get right. It took me a while to learn that one. Yeah, if you end up out a little bit wide, a car can sneak up the inside. Then we have a relatively long back straight down here. Another good overtaking opportunity at the end of the straight. You see my car having a little look. I was thinking about having a dive. The number 5 here, though, is up the inside. 47 tries to hold it, and you can. If you can keep it around the outside, you'll be on the inside for the next 2 corners. This time, though, 47 just couldn't quite carry the speed, couldn't quite keep his car where he wanted it to be, and he ends up losing the place. I'd had a little bit of a shonky start, ended up out wide a couple of places where I didn't really want to be, so yeah, had dropped back a couple of positions, I think. I then have a dive into the next hairpin, the third and probably the final of the good overtaking opportunities. I then completely and utterly forget to cover the inside like a fool, and I'm again stuck out wide. Now this next corner is just about flat out. It's a little lift as we go too wide. That was a scary moment, and I'm still stuck on the outside, and I'm not going to go around the outside of this particular turn. I tried to cut back to the inside for a run down the start-finish straight. I just get a little bit of a slide on the exit of the corner. Just too much of a slide. The cars are too wide back, or further back I should say, and I'm just out of range. I can't do anything in turn 1, and turn 1 here it's a tough place to overtake with normal sports cars. It's even tougher to overtake with these things. This is a little bit further back, the 110 trying to find a way past, and I think these are the cars that were too wide in the last clip. This time getting a good drive down this next straight and into the hairpin. Under braking is easily the scariest things imaginable with these cars. You see how much the green car here is wobbling around trying to get it stopped. You're just frantically trying, and again you'll see it starting to bounce around and slide a little bit. If you're spinning the wheels, you're slightly out of position through one corner, it tends to sort of affect the next couple of corners. You have problems. Yeah, these are difficult cars to drive around a circuit. At the front, and this was the battle for second. The number 17 trying to see if he can find a way past. This sort of long sweeping corner is a very important one to your lap. If you get just a little bit wrong through there, you can lose so much time because you've got such a long run down this straight. You want to get a nice run out of that corner. 17's looking for a way past, a little bit too far back, and the 8 is going quite defensive. Both cars are a little bit moving around under braking. 17 goes for a rather spectacular and probably the best overtake that we saw around the outside at the hairpin, and then to the inside of the next couple of corners. That was from a long way back. They managed to get put the power down out of the corner and get to the inside for these next 2. Yeah, that's a good overtake. That's a tough one to. Any overtake with these cars is bloody difficult, just because of how uncooperative they are with the with the general driving. They slide around, just putting any power down, and the brakes are terrifying. I've never had a car that's so terrifying. Going near the brakes. I think the number 8 had a bit of a half spin somewhere that I didn't quite catch. Dropped him back into the clutches of the 2 cars behind. Yeah, as I said, just the whole getting past, finding a good place to get an overtake. A lot of it kind of requires the other car being quite cooperative. It often helps if they have a bit of a slide somewhere. The light blue car in the background had a very big slide out of that corner. There were a few back markers in this one that had crashes at the start, and they would cause a few issues within it. Certainly for me, they caused a few issues because smashed up front of the red car there. The number 5 is still looking for a way past, but is a little bit too far back. Also, the 8 is quite defensive into turn 1, both taking quite shallow lines through there. Turn 1 is not really a big enough braking zone for turn 1 to try anything, and you've got to be literally alongside. You can't have a dive into turn, well, certainly not with these either, because they've not got the brakes. Number 5 running a little bit wide. There was, yeah, quite a lot of running wide through corners, that one in particular, just trying to carry as much speed, and it was just a little too far back for anything in this corner as well. Yeah, dives are not going to happen. The 8 gets a little slide on the exit, but it's nothing to worry about. As I said, I had some problems in this one. I was happily racing around. I think I was in 7th or something at one point, and then I got clonked off by a back marker that spun through a corner and swiped the side of my car. Now, my car doesn't look particularly bad, but I think I must have knackered something in it, because I was really struggling with a lap speed compared to what I was doing in qualifying. I'm not sure what broke, but yeah, something went a little bit skew-whiff in my car. So a little bit of a shame for me, as I was gradually dropping back. I was trying to keep up with the car in front that had a scary moment under braking there on the grass. Yeah, that's not what we want to do. These cars are bad enough under braking normally. Don't put a wheel on the grass. That's the last thing you need. Up to turn 1, we have the 817 just running a little too wide. To be fair, that is a rather sedate off for turn 1. Normally what happens in turn 1 is you're not braking enough, you panic, you lock the wheels and you spin it. That's a relatively sedate one, if I'm honest. That's the sort of crash we're seeing a lot in practice, cars spinning in turn 1. But the 817 was wise to it and just lets the car run out wide. Unfortunately, that makes you slow through the next few corners, of course. And the 19 sees a gap on the inside and gets the move done. But because they're sort of battling there, they've both taken slightly shonky lines and both been a little bit slow off the corner. The 47, I think he had a spin at some point to drop him back to this group, is now right with them as we run down this long. It feels a lot longer when you're driving it than watching it in this replay. It feels like a really long straight. Watching the replay, it doesn't actually look that long. The 47 does get up the inside, but that puts him on the outside for the next corners and gets just a little bit of a bump from the 19. Of course, being at the back of this train is always quite nice because there's no real cars around the light blue vehicle, so he can just sit and bide his time and wait for them to inevitably crash each other off if you're not careful. And just watching how much these cars are moving under braking is always scary. A little bit of lag. Lag wasn't too bad at all on here. We didn't have any real lag problems, which is always nice. The 19 gets a big old slide out of that. There was lots of sidewaysness out of that particular corner. I think I may have spun on that corner at one point. Was it that one? Maybe in the corner before that I spun once in this race. Yeah, there were lots of. I think almost every car spun at least once, and that corner was one of the big culprits. So come down the start-finish straight, the 817 here is having a look, seeing if he can find a way past. Around the outside at turn 1 is very unlikely with these cars. You best bet get a good drive through here and get to the inside on the exit, which is what he is trying to do, but that does put you on the outside for the next turn. The 19 was a little slow off that corner. 417 side, they're all sideways through there. Not 417, sorry, 47. They're all trying to find a way past. They're all trying to crisscross each other, and all they're doing is really slowing each other down. But there's no cars around them at this point in time, so it doesn't really matter. And again, trying to be neat through here to get a good run. The 19 sideways, the 47, they're all sideways again on the run out of the corner. In the end, it's the light blue car that comes off worse with a little bit of grass track racing at the front, and it was this blue and orange vehicle that was leading the way. Had an okay gap to the cars behind, but as I said, everybody had issues. Even the quickest drivers were having problems with with this car, as into this long corner just put the power down a little bit too soon. It's very easily done. Just trying to get that little bit more speed out of the car, just carry that little bit more quarter speed, and yeah, in the end that one went a little bit wrong. He got away without any damage, didn't bump a wall or anything, but yeah, that's always the danger. Always the danger with these cars. I mean, I think it was a 15-lap race. You've got to concentrate. There's just no rest with these cars. You're always concentrating. You're always worrying about them doing something silly. Number 78 here. I don't quite know where it started, but it came from a long way down. Was making up huge amounts of times and places throughout the race. The 19 and 817 were continuing to fight for a while until the 19 tried to put the power down and spun on his own. I'm assuming there wasn't a huge bump between them, so I don't think the 817 took any damage from that one in particular. The other car will be laughing is made up 2 places without having to do anything in that. Yeah, that's one of the dangerous corners. That is one of the dangerous corners. If you just try and put that power down just a little bit too soon. This was the battle for second place. The 314 dropped back. I don't know if he had another spin or may have run wide somewhere. And it was the number 8 that got a scary braking moment into the hairpin. They were quite common as well. It's around the outside of the next corner, though. That's another good overtake around there, keeping your car under control. That was a scary place. Anywhere scary, really. And yeah, the number 8 is just a little bit too far back. If you get a really good run through this corner, then yeah, first turn is a maybe. I mean, the field was still relatively close to the front. I mean, this is second, third, and fourth, all within shot, and first wasn't that far up the road. As the race came to the later stages, there was slightly less of the overtaking. The field wasn't hugely, massively spread out. You could often see the cars in front of you on the most part, but these two were certainly the only ones that were really battling for positions. As cars, a few cars spun. And yeah, you were losing. That's a really big slide from the dark blue car there. Yeah, a few people spun. Some got away with losing less time and so on. And there were sort of gaps appearing between the thing. Not much overtaking was done on the final few laps. But yeah, the 78 was continuing his march through the order, but could not find a way past this vehicle. He could not get past it. He was trying absolutely everything out of turn 1, gets a good drive, but there's not really anywhere to go through this next corner. It's not really a good overtaking spot, and both of them are sliding. I think the 78 was sliding the most out of everything I watched in this one. It really was sliding the car a hell of a lot. But now you've just lost that little bit of time. It's just too far back into this next corner. You're not going to be able to have a dive. You've got to concentrate on getting a good run out of it. 47 gets a big slide and a big twitch on the exit. Unfortunately, that sort of slide and twitch was in front of the car behind, who probably had to lift, maybe have a dab on the brakes, and that's sort of compromised his run a little bit onto the straight as well. Has got a good run, but it's now stuck on the outside. I would see outside here, it can work, but you've got to get a really good run off this corner, and he's just not quite in the right place. The 47 is defending well. Again, he's just can't quite get his car in the right place to get an overtaking maneuver. There's a little bit of rallycross going on. You really don't want to be doing rallycross unless you really have to, because as you've seen with these vehicles, enough time already. Putting wheels on the dirt and losing some grip with that is a recipe for disaster. In all honesty, yeah, giving cautions for having us go off track with these is yeah, we don't really need it, because there's a very high possibility that we're going to have crashed. If you go, that's about the only corner you could get away with running off without it causing major scary moments. And again, these next corners, the 78 is just too far back, and he continued for a few laps. This little tussle. It's dark blue car just unable to find a way past. He couldn't make a maneuver stick. He was closer this time round. Unfortunately for him, the 47 locked the rear brakes up into the corner, just started sliding. He managed to get it all back under control and didn't lose too much time, but it was just enough. It got put out just wide enough to allow the dark blue car past. It's not all done yet though. As they run down the straight, 78 is going to have to go very defensive through this or into this next corner. Sure enough, again, it's side by side in the braking zone. The 47 doesn't brave the around the outside, and then things go a little bit wrong. I was slightly curious as to what was going on with this one. The 78 just seems to all of a sudden lose speed across the crest of the turn, and then it probably runs out of fuel. So yeah, this was on the final lap, and the poor 78 car that had done so well making his way up through the order ran out of fuel. Little bit of a shame. That's racing for you. Yeah, it can happen if you don't have enough fuel in the cars. At the front, while that was going on, it was the 17 that was leading the way. They were gradually being caught by the blue and orange car. They were going to run out of time to get the lead, and in the end, the blue car had a spin on that particular nasty corner where we've seen a few offs and would drop down to third. Yeah, the 17. I don't think the 17 had a spin. I didn't see at any points the 17 had a spin and they didn't suddenly lose a bunch of positions. So I think it might be the only car that got through the race without having a spin or or any of that. But yeah, you can see the top three we're all within sight of each other on the side. I'm just about to see fourth place as well. It was good fun. It was plenty of exciting racing when I was looking through the I had a terrible race. I had a very dreary race, but there was plenty of exciting racing elsewhere as we tried to go for a parking competition in turn one. It didn't really work. It didn't really work on that one. But yeah, the street stocks were an interesting drive. They were a very interesting drive. Not my sort of car when it comes to a circuit. There is far too much oversteer for my liking, but it was a good fun challenge. It's yeah, and it produced some very good racing. Also, I'd like to say thank you very much to Oscar Hardwick for setting this all up. Unfortunately, he couldn't race because his internet gave up, but thank you very much for hosting this event. It was very good fun. Anyway, that is it from me. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.